Welcome to the Rangers Today Baseball Podcast. From the bus leagues to the big leagues, the Rangers Today Baseball Podcast has got you covered. Here's Jeff and John.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Rangers Today Baseball Podcast. This is episode number 130, and today, TV play-by-play guy Dave Raymond's going to be joining us here in a little bit, and we'll talk to him. Before we do that, we're going to get into the big league stuff, and this is a team now that is starting to look like maybe they're trying to make a push for this thing. I don't know. They're down to look. They're making it hard to sell.
Yeah, they're doing that.
Yeah, they're making it hard to sell. But now they're only 3 games back of both Seattle and Houston.
Right,
and they got to play both of them.
Yeah.
And so this is a team that is look. You can say, well, they started off bad after the break. They lost those first 2 pretty badly to the Orioles, but the Orioles just may be the best team in the AL, and there's just not much you can do about it.
Sure. Excuse me, I'm fighting off a sneeze here. The trade deadline is in 6 days.
Yeah.
The Rangers, as you mentioned, are 3 games back. They're 3 under 500. The Mariners just put their 2 best players on the injured list, Julio Rodriguez and J.P. Crawford. The Astros are stinking it up in Oakland. I mean, it's like nobody wants to win this division because these teams have had a chance to pull away from the Rangers and just haven't been able to do it. The Rangers they've won 3 in a row. It's Wednesday, the 24th. We're shooting a little early this week.
Yes.
My wife planned a little vacation for us. So
you've got to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, they've won 3 straight 1-run games. 2 against the White Sox, who are just dreadful. I think if the Rangers had played these games against a good team, a good offense, they would have lost the games. Especially Monday's game when Lorenzen had the White Sox had so many opportunities and they ended up striking out 17 times in that game. Still almost won it. They hit the home run in the 9th, and the Rangers had to come back to score in the 9th and the 10th.
Right.
So it's not like the Rangers are winning 15-5. They're 15-0. Their offense is not doing enough still.
Sure.
And so you wonder, okay, well, it looks like Josh Young's going to start a rehab assignment this weekend and could be back next week. Okay, great, but he's got to be good still.
Sure.
And when Evan Carter gets back in mid-August, he's got to be good. Do you want to invest
in another bat?
And I don't think you do. I just don't think you do unless you can find a trade for starting pitching, like a Lorenzen or like a John Gray who pitched really, really well
last night. Yeah.
Tuesday night. Maybe you could trade Heaney, although Heaney's been really, really good for 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to go out and give you 8 innings every day, and you're probably going to worry through a lot of his innings, but he's getting the results. But
he's also a guy that can easily slide into the bullpen.
Yeah. And that's another thing, the roster is going to be a mess here in about a month. So
yeah,
you got a lot to juggle here before the trade deadline, but the Rangers have to keep winning games. They won games started by the White Sox 2 best pitchers who are both on the trade market. They get lesser starters here in the last 2 games. You gotta split the last 2 games. You can't lose these next 2 games. The White Sox, like I said, are dreadful. You gotta at least win the series. Go to Toronto, who was up and down.
Right.
And by next Monday, Chris Young should have his mind made up. He might have it made up already.
Sure.
I think that he had some comments on the radio the other day where, I believe in the group, but realistically, I have to look beyond this year. I think that says more about the money situation necessarily than it does whether he adds or subtracts. I guess that would affect adding and subtracting. The TV contract's still up in the air for next year. And so anyway, there's a lot on the plate, but the fact is the Rangers have to win games.
Yeah. The
best way to take care of business is to win games.
And their schedule is one of the it's like they said in the American League West, I saw something where the Rangers have the easiest schedule remaining in the second half of those in there. And it is because they play the West, but they've gone through what is more of their harder schedule. They've kind of gone through it. They have underperformed, and we've talked about that multiple times. They just, on offense, they have just underperformed.
Yeah.
But that, they're getting a bat back in Josh Young, hopefully, it looks like. Evan Carter, we saw him the other day. He looks like he's getting ready to – I think today he's going to hit –
Yeah, he's definitely behind Young.
He's behind. Young's the one that's closest. Young was out there taking infield the other day, too, fully infield.
Young's doing everything.
He's doing everything. He was throwing the ball, doing infield. I've seen Jacob deGrom's getting up on a mound. He's obviously still about a month away. Now you're thinking late August.
It depends on what they want to do with, like, do they want him to bring him back when he's not fully stretched out? Because if they want to stretch him out, it's going to go into September. There's no doubt about it. Just the way
they could bring him back early and do an opener situation, or
the timeline he laid out the other day.
Who's Bochy or DeGrom?
Okay. DeGrom himself laid out. He needs to. He's going to throw live. He's going to throw on the mound Friday. Then he has another week of bullpens, and then he goes into live. But he's going to throw 3 of those. So that right there is
mid-August.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, depending on how quickly between lives he's doing, how many days he does it, but so it's definitely looking like a September thing, and that's fine. The pitching's been good. It
hadn't been pitching.
You want to have him back, obviously. I was talking to somebody over the weekend in Cooperstown and who's seen him throw, and they said that he could get guys out right now. It's that good, and it's just a process, so you can't cut it short. So anyway, we'll see what happens. It's a big stretch of games here for the Rangers, but they just got to win games. That's it.
Series. That's the way I would put it. I mean, obviously it'd be nice to see the Rangers go on one of those 7, 8, 9 win in a row things, but that's unrealistic. They need to win every series. They need to take 2 or 3, and they need to just point ahead, quit looking, and just go ahead and win games.
Yeah, and I think I just don't get what's wrong with the offense. And I don't think they do either. And it is what it is at this point. It's not gonna. I don't think there's a switch. They would have flipped it already.
Yeah.
Adolis Garcia's struggling, and obviously, Jonah Heim's showing a little life here. Marcus Simeon's showing a little life here. Wyatt Langford had an 0 for 27, but he's kind of working his way out of it. Okay, that's great. But
game winning, he had the game winner the other night.
You just can't. Yeah, this team is scoring 4 runs to win ball games, and that's
totally different than last year.
On a pitching staff. There's just no margin for error.
And maybe Josh Young just comes in, and that's what just turns it on. I don't know. I mean, look, they've gotten great play out of third base.
Yeah,
since he's been gone.
Yeah,
but think about it: when his bat comes in, you're not losing the guy that's been playing third. He's going to stay in the lineup.
Sure,
that's the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he is a power threat. Josh has a little pop in the bat. He can drop the ball.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean it'll it puts more stress on it on the pitcher, and
maybe it's protection for Adolis. Maybe. Now you got to come to Adolis. Who got a hit last night. But has just looked. I mean, he's come up in big situations and looked bad.
Yeah.
With strikeouts. I mean, that's the thing. Put it in play.
He's batting 210, right, or 211. It's not good, and
not at all.
It's right in the middle of the lineup, and
Seager hasn't been lighting it on fire.
No, he hasn't. But I would still like him in my lineup. So,
well, let's be honest. At $30 million a year, he's going to be in your lineup. So
he's.
But he's still he puts together great at bats, and he's just a threat no matter what.
He's leads the team in home runs. OPS is over 800. He's fine.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. And hey, if you want to you weren't there last night, but if you want to give kudos, you have not seen it yet. I can't wait for you to see it. The Jonathan Ornelas play last night we haven't seen a shortstop do that. Not even Young. I mean, not even when Smith was covering for him, who's made some really good plays at shortstop.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen a defensive play like that in a while. That was impressive. In fact, it warranted him. He's probably maybe the only time he ever makes an ESPN highlight. But that was impressive.
Well, he's on the reason was put on the 40-man rosters because he's so good defensively.
Yep, he's good.
And the Rangers were convinced that somebody would have claimed him strictly based on the defense. He's not going to ever hit. Let's say he's an everyday player somewhere. He's not going to hit more than 10 home runs probably.
Right.
Average is going to be 240 to 260, I would think,
at the best.
But I can play defense at shortstop, third base, and second base, and he's a good guy to have in your organization. And yeah, great. He's been on our show twice. He's a great guy. Works hard. Has been around the organization for a while, so that's great. When these guys can come up and do this kind of stuff and be valuable replacements, that's what you need.
Well, and wait till you see it. And guys, don't worry. Jeff had a deal last night with the family. He hasn't had a chance to see it. Wait till you see the reaction of the guys in the dugout after the play. Max Scherzer was the funniest one because the angle where he threw the ball, you see Lowe catch it, and they immediately tune in behind him to Scherzer, who you would have thought they won the Super Bowl at the moment. I mean, he just gets super excited. And the whole dugout goes crazy. John Gray was his last batter of the game. And then Ornelas afterwards, we went over to talk to him. I mean, everybody just wanted to talk to him about that play. It was impressive. And the reason I'm even giving so much, it was an excellent defensive play. But we know John. We've had him on a couple times, like you said.
Yeah.
Just a wonderful kid. Wonderful. I say kid because all of them are young enough to be my kid, and they're my kids' ages. But he is. He's just a great guy, and you want nothing but success for those kids,
for sure.
And that was just fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to this stretch. We're going to have Dave. You know what? We'll get more into this with Dave. Dave's going to come in. He's going to talk more about where he thinks they sit and what they're doing. When he comes up after this, anything else we want to get to on the big league level?
Well, I guess it's it's the big leagues. I was fortunate enough to go to Cooperstown over the weekend.
That's cool.
I'm wearing a hat that matched the suit I had to wear to go to a couple of parties, if you will.
Let me stop you 1 second. We've had a home series here. One home, what is it? One
Rangers way.
One Rangers way. So you got to look at the.
Let me talk about the Hall of Fame first.
Okay. All right.
It was a good deal. Yeah, I don't know if you saw Adrian's speech. He was nervous about it.
That's one I haven't seen yet.
He just thanked everybody. It was kind of what you'd expect from him. He's a very humble guy, and when he talks publicly and talks bad about his English and all this stuff, and for him to give the speech that he did, he thanked a lot of people. I think I counted over 100 names that he mentioned. It was very nice, but he was very gracious representative of the Rangers in Cooperstown. And I think he finally started to have a good time and realize just what he was doing. I mean, he was on stage with a bunch of Hall of Famers. He was he admitted
I saw Big Poppy touched his head.
Yeah, but he admitted that he met Mike Schmidt, and it was just he was starstruck.
Yeah.
And Mike Schmidt was like, well, hey, you belong here, and for Adrian to hear that from one of arguably the best third baseman ever.
Yeah, you can't argue that either.
He was really in awe of that. So that was neat. It was a good time. Saw a lot of former Rangers, a lot of Adrian's old teammates who went up there to check it out and
support. Go get any malted beverages with them, or
I had a couple, and just a bunch of good guys, and so
good.
That was good, and but you mentioned One Rangers Way. The Rangers are in the midst of a home span, but I'm going to go. I'm going to go a different direction on this.
Okay.
For the safe at home segment with One Rangers Way, I'm going to go with the Rangers as a whole because they did host the All-Star game.
Okay.
I think that
was a home game.
From the Futures game when Emiliano Teodo pitched so well and Sebastian Walcott did well in the skills competition and Winston Santos got it up to 98 in his inning. To the home run derby where Adolis Garcia, I thought he would get blown out with 18, but he just missed the cut. And then the All-Star game itself,
Rangers did good in there.
Marcus Semien sparked the comeback with a hit and a run. Corey Seager hit that deep fly ball. Kirby Yates had a dominant 8th inning to get it to Emmanuel Clase. And then I thought Rangers fans really acquitted themselves well. It was just a good show for the whole organization. So the Texas Rangers are our star for the safe at home from One Rangers Way. If you haven't heard of One Rangers Way, it is the first and only residential community that will allow residents to live in the heart of the entertainment district and walk to Rangers games. You can see it when we're in the press box looking out the window in left field. You can see the construction that's going on. Exclusive lifestyle in the Rangers clubhouse, every possible amenity. It's upscale. They have a bar. They have a viewing lounge. They have a pool with a bar, state-of-the-art gym, all kinds of stuff, very pet-friendly. So you can view floor plans and availability at onerangerway.com. Live like a champion at One Rangers Way, now leasing for January of 2025.
It's going to be nice.
It's nice. It's nice.
It is nice. And if you go over to Texas Live, guys, they do have a model there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the access is to it. If you go to One Rangers Way, I'm sure they'll take you over there and show you the model itself. But apparently there is one set up in Texas Live. Guys, that's it for the big league segment. We're going to get Dave Raymond on right after this. Guest segment brought to you by the Round Rock Express. Jeff, what's going on around Rock?
Well, the Express is on the road right now at Albuquerque where the ball flies, but they get home next week with the series against Sugar Land, the Astros AAA affiliate, starting on July the 30th when they have Taco Tuesday. On the 31st, First Responders Night, August 1st, World Series trophy opportunity. On the 2nd, Express Hall of Fame night. On the 3rd, Flippin' Sweet Night with John Heater, who, as you all know, is Napoleon Dynamite. He put out something on Twitter the other day, or on his social media, that was pretty funny. And then Sunday the 4th is Kids Day. So head on out to Round Rock for more information. Go to milb.com/round-rock.
All right, guys, joining us right now, it is part of the TV broadcast. Everyone knows him. It's Dave Raymond, our buddy. He's been on a few times. Dave, what is going on, sir?
Just wondering what is going on, right? I mean, I think we're all in the same boat, trying to figure out where this thing is going. But hanging out, we got a couple hours before getting into the yard, so I'm just hanging with you boys.
Well, thanks. I want to commend you on your shirt. Do It for Durrett Foundation. Our event this year is November 8th. We're going to have a big music act.
If you hadn't said it, I could. Country star. What's his name from Texas Tech? Why did you say that? We're going to bring this in again.
All right.
We're going to do it again. So we can
post.
I literally bought the VIP ones just so my wife and them, because they love him. Who is it?
Is it Josh Abbott?
Josh Abbott band. God damn it. Okay, there we go.
News to me.
All right, guys, joining us right now is Texas Rangers play-by-play TV announcer Dave Raymond, who's a friend of ours, been on a few times. Dave, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. Like you guys, we're less than a week away?
6 days.
Yeah.
6 days.
So I'm just kind of waiting to find out what's going on, right? I mean, I think we all are. So, in the interim, we've got games to do, and got a couple hours here before we head out to the ballpark. So I thought I'd hang out with you boys.
Well, thank you. I'm going to commend you on your shirts. I Do It for Dirt shirt.
Yeah.
Our Decade of Giving event is November 8th. Josh Abbott Band, Texas Live. Be there or be square, and give as much money as you can. So there you go.
It's a fun one. That's Josh Abbott. My wife and daughter, 26-year-old daughter, love him, so they're excited.
And we're also playing golf. It's kind of a double header. So we've got a golf at the Grapevine Golf Course. So Dave, we'll get you in there. I heard you play golf.
I try when I can, man.
You mentioned the trade deadline, and we kind of talked about it the other day. And what's this team going to do? And the problem is the dang West is no good. I don't know. I mean, that's not a problem. That's good.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the mystery. The Rangers are 3 games under 500, but they're 3 games out of first place. So what do you think is going to happen? I personally think they have to trade some pitching.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I look at it this way: they're in a position where they can trade some pitching.
Yeah,
and
that's weird.
You know, and get something for it. And it's pardon me, that was my phone. But anyway, it's a market that is, you know, really hungry for pitching. There aren't a lot of sellers out there, so I think you could make a good argument for going out and trying to get as much as you can for what you have. And in the Rangers' case, I think you could, take out the Astros and the Mariners for a moment. And if you want, you can really even just look at what the Rangers are and what they want to do. They want to play better baseball. They want to start winning. They have like 5 really big dudes, 6 really, coming back here in a matter of days. Most importantly, I think, it's my opinion, Josh Young.
Yep, sure.
They're going to get Evan Carter back shortly after that. Well, those are could be two really impactful bats, which would change everything about this offense. So that's compelling. On the pitching side, you've got Jacob deGrom continuing to head toward recovery and a comeback late in August, maybe September. Malley's coming back here in a handful of weeks. Bradford's coming back. Dunning will be returning here shortly. So there's 6 guys. I guarantee you, we'll go back after the trade deadline and let's review and see if any team in baseball was able to add that much to their roster, right? It's not going to happen.
No, so, exactly.
So it's going to be a huge boon for this team right at the deadline without making a deal. But it also means that you have guys currently on the roster who aren't going to be there.
Yep.
And so who are those guys? And then what do you do with them? So if you're not going to need, let's say, 2 to 3 starting pitchers, does that make John Gray expendable?
Lorenzen,
Michael Lorenzen. You can speculate and come up with ideas. Jose Orain, you could be valuable to people. I think the one thing you don't want to do, probably, given the way things have gone recently, is you probably don't want to mess with anybody in the bullpen. Now, had they really drifted here recently, yeah, you could make an argument that guys on expiring deals like Yates and Robertson and Leclerc could be really valuable elsewhere. But I think given the fact that they're 3 games out today, playing better baseball, they've won 10 of their last 14 games. So, and again, getting stronger. So for me, there are a couple of moves in the margins where you take advantage of a hungry market, and that's probably it.
Yeah, and conceivably you get something that's going to help you, but I don't. To your point, though, what is help at this point? I mean, can you get another relief arm if you're not going to have 4 relievers or 4 starters turned relievers in your bullpen? Do you get a bench bat? But if you get a bench bat, who do you kick off the bench? It just seems like there's not a lot that this team can do to make itself better. With like you mentioned the other day, there's not a first baseman out there that's just sitting there waiting to get traded. And
well, they're not going to buy a rental.
No rentals.
No.
They're
not in it enough to buy a rental. So it's got to be some, if they trade for anybody, unless the only rental they're going to get is the rental that's really nothing, costing them not a thing. Maybe a little international money or something. That's it. Other than that, they're not going to buy rentals at all.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think so, because again, to Jeff's point, like, is there somebody out there who you're just so confident is going to be improvement over what you have at any of these positions? So as we talk about, let's say, Young and Carter coming back, right?
Yeah.
The biggest question the Rangers have at that point is, well, what do you do with Josh Smith? Because he's got to be in the lineup.
Sure. Right.
And so, well, he goes to probably your DH role. So you're not really going to be looking for a DH per se. Right. I think maybe the one spot you would think about tweaking would be backup catcher.
Right. Yeah.
And then even in the bullpen, you could go add somebody maybe, but you've got Emiliano Teodoro. Looks like he could contribute right now.
Yep.
So if they wanted to, he'd be an option as we head down the stretch. So I think if you're trading any of the guys we've talked about or not talked about at this point, you're probably doing it to get prospects and build depth in your system.
And to get rid of 40-man spots for some of these
For
guys
sure.
coming back.
Yeah,
Because they're coming off the 60.
Everybody you talked about, Carter's not on the 60, but Young sure is. Malley, DeGrom, Bradford was moved to the 60.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ramifications here, because if you don't trade them and you want to keep them, you're shedding your minor league depth at that point. That's when guys like Jonathan Ornelas and Dustin Harris and anybody else who's on the 40 who's a prospect, Cole Winn who's hurt, but they become guys you got to clear out. I mean, I guess Wynn's on the 60, but anyway, that's kind of where you're getting, and then you're hurting your farm system and your minor league depth, and you're going to have holes for next year potentially, especially in the bullpen, as you mentioned the other day when we were chatting. So it's like, God dang it, you're in a tough spot here, and really you got to make trades.
Yeah, well, conceivably, this is a team that's going to sell, but not because they're out of it. They got to clear spots. I mean, you're right, Dave. I've been saying this forever. They have a trade deadline inside their organization. They are adding people from inside the organization. And so, and it would almost play out like trading prospects or somebody to get that back in, because you're going to have to clear some roster spots. But you're going to have I think pitching, they're going to have to sell a starter or maybe two.
Yeah, and they're like the Twins. The Twins would seem like a team that could need starting pitching, and the Dodgers are getting healthy, but it seems like they always have injuries and always like starters.
Is Yamamoto out for the year?
It could be late, but Kershaw's going to pitch tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know. You just never know, and. But it's just a strange year. A year after they were total ad mode, after years of being complete sellers, now they're like, "What the f are we going to do?
We've got too much. What are we going to do here?"
Yeah.
And one thing you can say, unless this changes dramatically, there's no wild card coming out of the West unless it changes dramatically. No. Everybody's so far back. There's so many teams ahead of them.
Yeah, the old Chris Young adage of you can never have too much starting pitching. He might have too much starting pitching.
He might.
It's really possible. So yeah, it's an interesting trade deadline. The other thing is though, I think what's kind of exciting about it is, number one, like the big part is they're coming from a position of strength. They don't have to deal anybody.
Right.
So take some of the names we've mentioned, Lorenzen and Gray. Believe me, there are people out there who would really love to get them. Okay, well, how compelled are you, right? And that's where Chris Young is. He doesn't have to just trade them to trade them. He can take his time on this and pick out the best deal. And I'm sure they've already had conversations with teams, and we'll see where it goes. It's going to be very interesting, man.
I mean, how late? I just wonder, how late can you wait? Yeah, like the Rangers are playing a team that is terrible. I mean, there's no way around it. The White Sox suck, and the Rangers are just doing enough. Now they did have to face their best arms the first 2 days. We'll see what happens here tonight and Thursday, and then Toronto's up and down. Can you wait until Monday or Saturday or Sunday before deciding to sell? I think you kind of have to have it working it both ways, saying, hey, if this happens. Yeah, I don't know the mind of a GM, but
I don't either.
Like, you have a very finite window to make your mind up and get the best deal. Right. Otherwise, you're kind of shooting from the hip, like you could say happened to the Rangers in 2017 when they traded Darvish, and they did it 20 minutes before the trade deadline, and they got
Willie Calhoun.
So, you don't want to get caught with your pants down. So it just seems like it's just a hell of a spot.
Yeah, I mean it is, but there are so few sellers that the phone's ringing. I mean, they're having conversations. So I think at some point, that could be today, right? It could be tomorrow, and you just say, like, it doesn't. I mean, you're under no compunction to wait until the last minute to see if something better comes along, right? And that's a trap that we all fall into in all sorts of ways in our lives, thinking something better is going to be there, when maybe you just need to take the one in the hand. That's what Chris has to weigh. But at the end of the day, so let's say you get caught with your pants down, so to speak, right? And now you're at the 11th hour and you haven't moved some of these guys that you now know you're going to have to move. You're going to have to move them to make room for these guys coming back. Well, then you're in a spot where you put them on waivers. You know, they probably don't clear. So then you can negotiate a deal with somebody. But I don't know. I mean, you're just going to lose guys, right? You're just going to lose guys if you're creating spots on your 40-man. So if, let's just say on Sunday, you've got a decent offer, you're like, I think there's more to get, but it's not terrible. Well, then maybe you pull the trigger because you don't want to get caught in a spot where now you're just letting him go. The other thing, though, is in terms of letting guys go, maybe you hold on to them and they walk in the offseason, take a free agent deal somewhere else. You get a compensation pick, or you make in the case of John Gray, maybe you make a deal in the offseason if that was something that suddenly you wanted to do. But so there are options. You can always hang on to guys, and there are other guys you can move off your 40-man. So, I say that cavalierly, like this is an easy gig. I have no idea how these guys do it. I just don't. It seems like a very complicated, and it's just wrought with all kinds of stress. I don't know how they do it.
Well, let's be honest. You, us, and every fan in Texas Ranger fan knows better than GM than Chris Young. We all know better than Chris Young what should happen. Right?
Well, listen, I won't take that position on any general manager because I do not envy those jobs. I get confused at moves that are made in the middle of the season. Like, wait a minute, they did what? And they put this guy on this thing. And, well, why do they have to do that? It's really complicated stuff. So, man, I love to sit back and watch and see what they come up with because I would just hate to be in those spots.
So I guess we talk about the trade deadline, but how did this team get here, Dave? I don't think anybody thought that this would be the position, and
underperform.
It's underperformance, it's injuries. You can have one, but you can't have both. That's kind of, I think the offensive declines of certain players have been the reason for the Rangers being in this position.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, the offense is it's hard every single day. It's so hard to get your brain around. Like, why is this team not scoring runs? Look, I don't know that they had to score like they did last year. They scored 881 runs. It's a little arrogant to think that that can do that again. And you have to go back and look at last year and admit, there were some guys who had breakthrough years. Now, you can look at those and say, like, oh, he's reached his potential. This is the guy we'll see going forward. Or you could say, maybe he played above his head a little bit last year. And a rising tide will lift all those ships. So when a great offense is clicking and you're slotted in there in a low-pressure spot in that lineup, maybe you end up benefiting from that and playing up a little bit over your normal level. So that's fine to admit as well. But I think you had to expect there'd be certain guys who would come back down a little bit off of last year's performances. And then the question is, how far? But when several do, and then when a guy like Adolis Garcia comes way back off of last year's levels, then all of a sudden you're pressing a little bit. And the injury to Josh Young is critical. I've gone over these numbers a million times, but last year when he got hurt, that's when that just suffocating decline happened. And it was just a couple of weeks from now when they were leading the division by whatever it was, 4.5 games, and then fell off the cliff. Well, that's why Josh Young was hurt. He came back, and within a couple of days, they're back in first place again. So his presence...
He adds to that lineup.
Oh, my gosh. There's the right-handed piece of it. There's the power piece of it. There's the great at-bat piece of it. But I think maybe even bigger than all that is the presence of him in that dugout as a contributor. He's a big puppy dog. He's a big Labrador Retriever puppy dog. He's got great energy. He's fun. Guys love to be around him. He's a baseball rat.
Baseball card rat.
Yeah, well, he is. But so he brings that really good energy to a group that they need. Semyon and Seager are incredible players. Wyatt Langford is a great player. A lot of these guys are, however, kind of, this is a weird word to use, but a little corporate almost in the way they go about their business, right? It's a little antiseptic. I'm going to go do this at bat. I'm going to get this hit. I'm going to produce. I'm going to contribute, etc. But and it's great. Lord knows it's great. But sometimes you need a little Max Scherzer in there, right? A guy with just a
motion.
Yes, and a little bit off the wall, and brings a certain kind of energy and competitiveness and fire. Evaldi's one of those guys, right? I mean, there's a fire in there. I think of Yates and Robertson that way. So it's great. A little attitude, right? And I think at times when Josh is missing, I think that's one of the elements that this lineup in that dugout really misses, is a little bit of that attitude that he brings.
That's an interesting point. I like it. I do like that. And then, but you're right. And the four guys you mentioned as the guys who have the attitude are all guys who are 33, say, plus. They've been around, and I'm sure Scherzer is just unique. He's his own dude. But it would be nice to see those guys. You're right. Get on the rail. Get on the rail and watching that bat and cheer a nice play and
like they did on Ornelas.
Like Ornelas last night. Yeah.
Well, I think when we saw Boach get ejected the other day, right? And everybody says, well, he's not going to win any Academy Award for that one. He really wanted to get ejected. Well, I agree. I think he did. He hasn't said it, and he probably wouldn't admit it anyway. But it definitely looked like a guy who was determined to get ejected in that spot because of, I think, what we're talking about, right? Which is, man, where's that little energy? Where's that attitude, that edge? Like, we're in a fight. This is a fight. This team is 3 games below 500 right now after winning 10 of the last 14 games.
Right.
There needs to be some fight, some urgency. And so, we can, all of us on the outside, we love to talk about that sort of thing and pretend that this is a battle. And in reality, a lot of it is really just one at bat after the next. But there is something to it. I think there is something to a personality of a group and a fight in a group. And I think that's what Boach was shooting for the other day, whether he wants to admit that or not.
Yeah. And he just kept following the umpire. He'd like turn around and then just keep going back. He would just keep going back.
Would you toss me? Good Lord. What do I got to do?
Yeah. Let me draw you a picture. I'm out here because I don't want to be here anymore. Make me go away. Right? Yeah. And Moscoso, because when Moscoso turned and walked back to home plate, you see Boach kind of like, what? You haven't even ejected me yet.
Yeah.
Terrific.
And one more element of Young, too, is he's also protection in that lineup for the people around him. And that you're talking about adding length to the lineup. When he comes back and when everybody's back, so we've got to guess Leote.
Leote.
Leote is the one the one that's going to kind of be odd man out, maybe lose some ABs? I mean, once you get Carter and Young back.
Well, the problem is that Carter and Tavares both don't hit left-handers.
Great, yeah.
So you can't platoon them because you're not getting anything out of it. So I don't know what's going to happen there. That's a tough one. It could be Teodo, or God damn it, now you got me saying it. It could be Leote becoming more of a bench player at that point, and
because you can play Smith in left field,
and you're not going to need the extra infielder because Smith can move around. So that would make some sense. You'd have a catcher, an infielder, and 2 outfielders on your bench. So, but yeah, I mean that's another guy. He can look great. I mean that ball he hit the other night for his home run, I think it went further than any left-handed home run that was hit in the All-Star Derby. I mean, there weren't a lot of balls that were hit over that bullpen in that Derby, and
he knew it was gone when he hit it too.
Yeah, and so anyway, I don't know. I just
it's so weird.
There's so much stuff that's going to happen in the next week. Yes, But in the next month, it's just going to be.
Well, imagine
it's going to be something I've never seen. This is my 17th year on the beat, and I'll have never seen a series of roster moves and decisions like the Rangers are faced with.
Well, and think of this too. We're sleeping on the fact everyone's sleeping on the Rangers, obviously, and they're 3 games out. Their offense is sputtered. They can't get it going. What if this team just all of a sudden comes together and the offense gets young back and then it goes deep? And because right now it's not pitching that's the problem. Pitching has kept them in every game. And then, all of a sudden this team somehow figures out a way to win the West. And that's the team that goes into the playoffs after doing it last year with the lineup virtually the same, except for what's his name, no Garver in it. I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, in your brain, you're going, there's no way they get hot again like that, like they did last year. But it's just nuts. This is a good team that's just underperforming.
So I don't think that's crazy even a little bit. How many times have we heard when somebody's struggling, Seager's struggling, let's say, and a manager would say, well, look at the back of his baseball card, right? Because that's what you'll see at the end of September. Okay. And how many times have they been right? The guy comes out of it, puts together, I'll be darned, his typical season. And so, like Simeon is just so consistent. He's a lock, Well, if that truism plays out, how crazy a run will this team go on, right? Because Garcia, he's got a lot of making up to do.
Sure.
So we're talking 15 home runs in these last 60 games from Garcia. Seager still has some room to pick it up. But Lowe, I think we all know that Wyatt Langford's, we don't have the back of a baseball card really at this level to know, but I think there's a lot more in there. I think there's a lot more in a lot of these guys. So I really think that
they could be dangerous.
It's probable that this team goes on a pretty good run. And then let's play this little fantasy out a little bit. You get into the postseason then as division champs, and now your rotation is what? Eovaldi and DeGrom, Scherzer at all. Okay, and you've got some extra arms that you've now moved into the bullpen because of the short series in the postseason. Like, they're in the same spot where they were last year, maybe a better spot.
Because they would open at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
They would advance. They would get the lower. They would get the lower seed, right?
Sure.
I mean, it would. I mean, the bullpen is if this bullpen stays together and makes it to October, it's a better bullpen than last year's bullpen.
Without a doubt.
Easily.
Yeah. Without a doubt. What Yates has done has been unreal.
Yes.
Well, Sports is getting better. I know he gave up the home run last night, but his velocity is picking up. Leclerc on Monday, those might have been arguably the 2 best relief innings thrown by a Ranger this year.
Well, and certainly, I think maybe in his career.
It was 22 pitches.
Yes.
Yeah. 2 innings, 22. Yeah, it was crazy.
It was as tight as he's ever looked. It was amazing. So for me, it's like Boch has said a couple of times, and people ask, like, well, how can you still believe, right? This is like a month ago when they were really struggling. I mean, you stand here every day and you say, like, well, I still believe in these guys. And and people are like, well, how can you say that all the time? And I loved his response was like, well, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, we're done. It's June 15th. I haven't been around this game long enough to know whether or not a team can turn it around in mid-June.
Right.
It's a long season. And the thing about a long season is, how many times have you seen a team that's not expected to be great, like, run off a great start? You're like, sure. Oh my gosh, were we wrong on this team? And then by the end of the year, guess what? That team's overwhelmed because they don't have depth. They don't have whatever it takes.
Right.
And that's the one thing that this team does still have. We've talked a lot about the guys that are coming back. There's depth here. And now we're getting to that time. We see Julio Rodriguez go down with the Mariners this week. JP Crawford go down this week. And it sucks, but it's inevitable that guys are going to get hurt. And that's okay. The question always is, what's behind it? What do you have to supplement that? And so that's where you find out which teams are built for greatness and which aren't. This team is built to win. And I know it hasn't been a brilliant 100 games to start, But in a lot of ways, even though they've underperformed their Pythagorean and their run differential concepts by a couple of games, they've bailed a lot of water. Like, this could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But they have hung in there.
Right.
So I see a really wild finish yet in this thing,
Yeah. I mean, there's a
meaningful baseball still needs to be played.
There's a Braves team a couple of years ago that I think the 22 Braves that just kind of were
treading water
and then pulled away and wiped out the Mets. And then really if you want to go back to 2015, the Rangers were 5 games under 500, 7 games back when they got Cole Hamels, and they ended up tracking down the Astros and winning the division. I mean, there are teams like that throughout history that have done that. The A's did it to the Rangers in 2012. So, and it was a much smaller window too. So, I mean, there's hope amid all this frustration, but there's still so much uncertainty. So
there is. There is. They got to figure out how to score runs, man.
Yeah, you think every once in a while they'll have one of those games they did, where they'll come out and score 7, 8, 9 runs. You're like, okay, well maybe here we go. They were good at bats. They weren't depending on the long ball. They were producing runs, and then of course you go back and the next day they scored 2 or they scored 3. But they've won against the Sox in the 2 close games. But you're right. It seems like at any point they're just going to go through that stretch where they average 6 or 7 runs for about 10 or 15 games.
You'd think. Yeah. Hey, so speaking of uncertainty, how's that TV deal coming?
Yeah, I'll let you know when I know something.
Crazy.
Well, the trade deadline coming up next Tuesday, but I believe there's a big a hearing or a ruling or something that's coming down. And I just got a letter in the mail from the bankruptcy court about it, and it's all a bunch of legalese. Doesn't make any sense to me, but that's coming down here at the end of the month.
I think it's
I don't know if that's conclusive anyway. I don't know what we're going to hear next week or whatever is going to shed any additional light. It could just be kicking that can down the road a little bit further. What I do know is the Rangers are intent on not just having a good home next year where they can, figure out a way to monetize the TV broadcast in a similar way as they have in years past. And that's not easy, but I think they'll be able to do it. Their bigger concern is making it available for fans. And the problem, and I don't know that fans fully understand it, and I don't know that you can expect them to, and I don't know that they have to. But the fact of the matter is, the Rangers' hands are tied contractually. And so when what happened a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, one of the cable companies, Charter, whomever, dropped the games.
Comcast, right?
Comcast. And it was like, it came out of nowhere to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, what was this? Well, who are they pissed at? They're pissed at the Rangers.
Right. Yeah. It's not the Rangers.
It's all the Rangers. Oh, what the hell are you guys doing? Where are the games? Now you take it off Comcast? That's great. Well, the Rangers didn't know. That wasn't communicated from Bally's what was going on. And that's what's really frustrating, because the Rangers are taking these PR hits on this. And it's really frustrating to them because they're in bed with a business partner that's having a lot of trouble. And some things aren't getting communicated to them. So they couldn't even prepare fans for this. And that stuff, it just stinks. You want the fans to be able to see the product. So I think as much as the money, I think the Rangers' intent is to figure out a way that the games are back in people's homes again. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Control.
Well, and it seems like if doing that would help with the money,
for sure.
You have a lot of people who just aren't spending money to get Rangers games.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
now, I want to offer one little caveat to this whole thing, right?
Okay.
Because, so number one, I think somehow or another they will. They'll be freed of this current handcuff, and they'll figure out a plan going forward. So I think next year fans will be able to get the games a lot easier, no matter where they are and how they get them. But I will say this: when people say, like, I can't get the Rangers, I think they might want to rephrase that a little bit. You don't get the Rangers, right? On whatever your carrier is. There are ways to get the Rangers, right?
That's correct.
There are options. So you may not like it. You may not want to change up the way you do stuff. I understand that. We all are that way. But this idea that you can't get the Rangers, okay, let's tap the brakes on that a little bit. There are options. So,
Yeah. No, that's why I have D Stream. That's
what I have.
That's why I have it, because when YouTube dropped or wasn't going to have the Rangers, I was like, well, shit, I need to have the Rangers. So we had to make some phone calls and everything, but I get every Rangers game.
I did. Kathy and I changed from YouTube TV to D Stream. We've done whatever it took to make sure we had the stream, but
and they're both great, right? Like both those interfaces are really good. They're kind of the same thing.
They have all the same stuff.
Yes. And one gives you the Rangers, the other one doesn't. And it's literally a matter of either a couple of clicks online or a phone call.
Yeah.
So, and the price difference, like it's just not.
It's pretty negligible.
It's negligible. So you can get the Rangers, and I would encourage folks to get the Rangers.
Yeah, I would encourage them too, because you're doing a great job this year with 3 different guys in the booth, and
Thank you.
3 different guys. Basic's so full of energy and really zeroes in on the pitching stuff that I like, and David is. I think he's doing a fine job, and he knows the game, and he's been around. And then Valley, he goes back so far and has played for so many different organizations. It has a little attitude too. So
yeah. They all bring something different, right? It's fun. I mean, I love that the conversation's different with each of them when you're watching a game. So it's
fun. Just stand around, talk to them by the dugout. You can bring up any little story, and they're fun to listen to.
Yeah,
talk about something.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's not time to go to the ballpark just yet, but it is time for.
We got to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Time for lunch is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Dave, thanks again. Look, we appreciate it so much every time you come on, and you're always willing to come on and talk a little baseball. It's fun to do it this time of year. We got one more week, and you're right. This has been fun just trying to figure out what we think is going to happen. So we're all
going to be surprised in a matter of days.
Get your popcorn, because we're all going to be talking about it next week.
We'll compare notes next week.
Yeah. All
right, guys.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's Dave Raymond. We're going to go down in the bus leagues right after this. Thanks, Dave. Down in the bus leagues is brought to you by the Frisco Rough Riders. Jeff, what's going on in Frisco?
Well, they're home now, and it just seems like we got rehabbers rolling through. Dunning is getting there. Bradford was there last night. Tyler Malley will be there on Thursday. Anywho, but they're back. After this week, though, they're about to be gone for a while. So they are home this weekend. On the 26th, it's Military Appreciation Night with post-game fireworks. On the 27th, they will be the Frisco Horny Dogs, and kids will run the bases. 28th, A Night About Nothing, with an appearance from John O'Hurley from Seinfeld fame. Also some post-game fireworks for that. And then they're gone for 2 weeks and won't be back until the week of August 11th and 12th. So see them while you can. Go to www.milb.com/Frisco for more information.
Big thanks to Dave Raymond for joining us. Now we're going to go down in the bus leagues, guys. We start at Round Rock. We're going to go all the way down to the DSL. I'll give you the records and what they've done. By the way, everybody in this organization but one team now has a winning record.
All right.
So they're doing good. We're going to start at Round Rock. That's the AAA affiliate. They're 11-10, 6-4 in their last 10. They have won 3 in a row. Who do we need to talk about there?
Well, Jack Leiter had a little deload program. He'd been off on for a while, and all by design, nothing wrong with him. He came back and pitched pretty well on Sunday, 4 2 third innings. I think they were scoreless. The bats are starting to heat up a little bit. Sandro Fabian's been really good. Blaine Krim, we're going to mention Blaine Krim because his wife, Katie, has become the head soccer coach at North Greenville University, which is a Division II school in South Carolina. Pretty cool for her. She was a kick-ass soccer player in college. Anyway, NGU women's soccer could use your support. Go to their website for a link to figure out how to donate. I know I did it. It was also in the Tuesday newsletter if you want to go check that out.
All right, let's go down to Double-A. The Double-A Frisco Rough Riders, they already won the first half.
That's right.
Second half, they're 13-9. They're 5-5 in their last 10, and they did win their last game with Cody Bradford pitching.
Yeah, and it's kind of just a typical win. This team's good. We've talked about it all year. It's the usual suspects. Cody Freeman and Josh Hatcher. Abby Ortiz is starting to hit again. His average is up over 207. Kellen Strom has been promoted to Round Rock, so good for him.
Saw that. Yeah.
Cooper Johnson, the catcher, 8 home runs. We need to do a minor league show after the trade deadline. Another catcher, Liam Hicks, got him queued up. We just need to let him know when the word is the go sign. And then the pitching side, Teodo did pitch after his appearance. His ERA is still 1.77. So pretty standard stuff. Business as usual at Round Rock. They're winning games, and it's the same guys that are doing it.
Okay. High A Hickory. High A Hickory is 14-11, 7-3 in their last 10 games. They're only 1.5 games back, and they have won their last 4 games. They're starting to pick it up in Hickory.
Yeah, Sebastian Walcott is still doing his thing, and it's looking real good. Luis Maesis, the first baseman, he hit a walk-off homer the other night, hit a home run Tuesday, I think, with Walcott in the same game. Good stuff there. On the pitching side, I would expect that they're going to have some new guys coming. We'll talk about them from down east in a minute. But, Aiden Curry just keeps getting that ERA down. It was dreadful. It was an eyesore earlier. He's really been pitching well. Same for Mitch Brad, who I expect to be in Frisco soon. And then, we still have our buddy Alejandro Rosario, who his ERA is down under 4 now. Doing a good job. Hickory, one note about Hickory, it'll also affect Down East, which will cease to exist after this season. Hickory is going to be the low A affiliate.
Yeah, they're moving back. That's what they were for a long time, and then they moved up to high A, but they are going back down to low A.
Yep.
And the team that is playing their last couple of months of baseball where they are right now, which is the Down East Wood Ducks, the only team in the organization right now with a losing record. They're 10-14. They're 4-6 in their last 10, and then they did win the last night. So
yeah, their offense is up and down, up and down. Sure. The pitching has still been there though. Same names, Jose Gonzalez and David Davalillo. It's just a matter of time till they get promoted to Down East. But yeah, we haven't touched about this. Next year they're moving to Spartansburg, South Carolina. After they were sold a couple years ago to the Diamond Baseball Group, they'll be the High A team. They will be called the Hub City Spartanburgers.
We need to make a trip out there next summer.
Spartanburg. It's supposed to be a sweet little ballpark. I think it's right in downtown Spartanburg. So good stuff happening. Bad news for Down East, who had baseball in Kinston for a while, but their ballpark needed some improvements, and the group that bought the club from the Rangers has decided to go ahead and relocate them to a new ballpark.
To a new ballpark. And hey, for all you Down East Woodies that are there, just a note, we talked to Kip Fagg last week. A couple of those top draft picks may end up there by the end of the season.
Yeah, they've all been, the first 17 picks have been signed, and with the
bats especially.
The Arizona Complex League season is ending this week, and that team's going to the playoffs. We'll touch on them in just a second, but there's no place for these draftees to go in Arizona to play to get warmed up, so they're going to have to go directly to low A or high A.
And the arms, you understand, they may not throw or they may do something, but the bats especially probably want to get them going somewhere. So might see the first and second round picks going to Down East.
Yeah, I would. Well, I would say for sure the second and third round picks, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You don't think more will go?
Well, we'll see.
Okay, we'll go after that, guys. The ACL, like you said, they're ending this week. They are in first place. They are 35-23. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They did lose yesterday, but this is a team that's just been up at the top the whole time.
Yeah, they're playoff bound, and it's single elimination. It's one and done, and then so maybe they can find a rehab start for Kumar Rocker or something crazy like that to put the thumb on the scales. But good team, really solid prospects. guys who are young, Jeremy Cabrera, Braylon Morrell. It's unfortunate.
Braylon Morrell's been wildly good.
Yeah, he's been real good here. He started heating up. Claimer, Lemos, all offense first guy who came over from the Dominican, and then of course Yo Frank Castillo, who's batting .358 as a 17-year-old in the United States. Not a lot of power there, but there's a lot of hitability, as they say. So it should be they're going to have a shot. Obviously to get win a little ring out there. So anyway, there you go.
All right, and last but not least, the Dominican Summer League. They've got 2 teams going there, both of them in first place in their divisions. They got the red team, which is 26-10, 4-6 in their last 10, and they lost last night. But that's the team with Paulino.
Yeah,
he made the All-Star game and was the MVP.
He was the MVP of the Dominican Summer League All-Star team. Went 2 for 3 with a double and a stolen base. He's I don't know what they're going to do with these DSL kids. Would they take them straight to down east? That's probably asking a lot. That's just my opinion. But with instructs, I'm sure they'll be in. The deal with Santana is he hasn't homered. He's hitting .281. He's walked more than he's struck out, which always impresses me. Big athletic kid, but I think the Rangers want these players to have a chance to do a little something with some power before they subject them to full season affiliated ball.
Yeah. And the blue team, which is 19-13, 6-4 in their last 10, they also lost last night, but now they're not the B team. They did say that they've split them evenly.
Right.
But we did see some of the top guys were on the red team, but both teams are winning their divisions. Both teams are playing well.
Yeah, they'll both be in the playoffs. They're just good. It's good instruction. They know how to play the game, is what I've been told. They play really good brand of baseball.
And that's good. Well, that's going to wind it down. Anything else before we roll it out?
I don't think so. Just
have a good trip.
It should be a newsy week.
The Wilsons are heading out of town. I'll be around here for here. I'm usually keeping up with the games and that stuff too, so that's not going to be a problem. But guys, hey, this is another one in the can. We can't thank you enough for everything you guys do. Big thanks to Dave Raymond for joining us today. For Jeff Wilson, I'm John Moore. And until next time, we will see you at the yard.